Dave does email. Put it in writing to fmtalker@daveontheair.com. Dave Elliott on 98.9 WGUF Naples FM Talk.
It's 4:37. Good afternoon. Momentous day, some say, at the Supreme Court of the United States, where today, by a 5-4 vote, they ruled that the bulk of the Affordable Care Act, passed in 2009, is constitutional. There are a few little tweaks to it that they made, but for the most part it is. And isn't it ironic that the one thing that the Obama administration and Democrats are trying to steer away from on this health care bill was the fact that it was a tax, and that's the one thing that actually saved the bill. And here to talk about that and a lot more besides is our good friend Bob Weiner from Weiner and Associates, one of the top Democratic strategists in the United States of America. Hello, Bob.
Well, what a nice intro, Dave, and I love doing your show because you really get the sophisticated facts out, like you just said. Nobody has been talking about the slight off basis of the bill. Everybody's just running right and left and going vitriol and spin and
we
won and
you lost
and euphoria. So it's one or the other. So it's really a little bit in between. I just left the Hill to do your show. I was with John Conyers, who is the dean of the Congressional Black Caucus and the Democratic leader of the Judiciary Committee. So he covered sort of both grounds, both the Fast and Furious Holder contempt issue that's going on the floor and also the health care bill. You asked about the health care bill, Dave. It is a good decision for the American people, but it's a business-based decision. The court held the bill constitutional where it goes through the insurance companies, but it gives wiggle room for the Medicaid expansion to be the states can not expand Medicaid for the 30 million people, including the exchanges, that are added into the bill. So it's a mixed decision, really. It's less than the euphoria that the Democrats are claiming.
Well, let me talk about the Medicare thing for a minute, because I think that's one that's been a little misunderstood here. The court said that states have the option of expanding Medicaid, but they can't be compelled to do so. Is that correct?
That's exactly right. So they can get out of it. Now, what the bill does do is it mandates for everybody who has insurance that you get covered. These are fantastic add-ons that President Obama did. Pre-existing conditions, preventive care, mammograms, colonoscopies, seniors' drugs, children on parents' plans through 26, no lifetime caps. And this is kind of my favorite, requiring that 80% of the benefits go to patients, not administrators, so the insurance companies can't overcharge for their salaries and for their administrative costs, which is one of the things that makes us pay twice as much as any nation on earth. And because of this court's decision today and President Obama's legislation, everyone in America who has an insurance plan who's been overcharged, and that's effectively everybody, is getting $1 billion in checks. The insurance companies were holding off on those checks until this decision. Now an average of $500 a person is going out in checks because of insurance company overcharging, and those checks are going to you, to the recipients of health care, because of this decision today. So it has concrete benefits in making the insurance companies fall in line, which is why, by the way, the Republicans hate this, because they get all this campaign money from the insurance companies. The insurance companies hate it, and thank God Roberts had a little bit of a moral spine and upheld the bill.
Well, I've been listening, of course, to the back and forth today on all the the news talk networks, and one of the things that Mitch McConnell has said now twice that I've heard, I think once from the floor of the House, as a matter of fact, is that the Obama administration told us this wasn't a tax. It turns out the Supreme Court said it's a tax, and therefore they passed this bill under the guise of deception. And is that going to be the new mantra?
I think it's also deception to think that the people that are now covered that didn't have health insurance, when you're talking 15 to 30 million, and you would have paid for those, and the Congressional Budget Office says that you're saving $200 billion this decade and $1 trillion next decade because of the group coverage on this health care bill that now has everybody in it. I guess that makes it not deception.
Now, the administration has been widely criticized for doing just a really poor job of selling this bill to the American people.
That's well-deserved.
Around the time that they passed the bill and literally forced it through Congress. And now somebody says to me, or I hear somebody say today, they may have a second bite at the apple. Is it possible now is it possible, is it just possible that the Democrats, who you admit have been doing a horrible job at messaging so far in this campaign, can get it together and convince people that this is actually a good thing for the country?
No, because the Republicans by 6-1 have been outspending the Democrats in ad money defining the bill. And that's one of the reasons why the overall bill has a 20-point disadvantage. People don't like the bill overall, but then when you tick off the provisions I just laid out to you, the pre-existing conditions, preventive care, mammograms, colonoscopies, seniors drugs, children's on your plan, no lifetime caps, and the insurance companies have to spend 80% on you, not on themselves. When you tick off those provisions, those have a 40% advantage that people love. But we have not gotten that word out. Somehow we're not spending the money. So we would have to make a dollar decision that we want to spend the money on defining health care instead of going after Mitt Romney on saying corporations are people and he has garages for his cars, garage elevators for his cars, and he's so out of touch. And Bain Capital has actually cost everybody pensions and their jobs, and that's what he wants to do to America. That's kind of a better, more broad sweep message, Dave. And so I think that's still going to stay our message. I don't think we're going to suddenly shift to what has been, regardless of the reason, a losing message on the overall health care bill.
And, you're also hearing things about repeal. You're hearing Eric Cantor say
Not
July.
Not going to happen.
It's all symbolic. July 9th, we begin the repeal of Obamacare. He said, of course, the House can vote for it, but it will never get to the Senate. And if it does get to the Senate, it'll be voted down. And if for some reason it was passed at the Senate, the president will veto it.
That's exactly right.
And then you have you also have the Republican nominee, presumptive Republican nominee, Mr. Romney, saying on day one, I will issue executive orders that will dismantle Obamacare. First of all, you've knocked around D.C. for a while. Can he actually do that?
The only thing he can do is what Obama's already done, give the states the right to do something better. That's the executive order that Obama issued. That's why there are state waivers in place. Romney could give the states the right to waiver, and they will do the same thing that they're doing under Obama. They'll try to improve, do something better. He can't unpass the bill. It's legislation. He doesn't have that power. As you pointed out, he needs 60 votes in the Senate. He will never get it.
Yeah, at least as it stands today, we don't know what's going to happen after the November election.
Well, this election right now, if you're looking at the polls, and it's too early, but it's been maintaining for a while because of the fact that Obama has reversed the 750,000 job loss a month under Bush, and we've had 3 straight years of job gains. Slow, small, but gaining, because of the fact that he made Detroit #1 again, because of the fact that he got bin Laden, and now because of the fact that he has this health care bill approved, and he also boxed the Republicans in on immigration. Because of all that, he's got now something, depending on your poll, Quinnipiac or Gallup, it's from an 8 to a 15-point lead over Romney. It's no longer the tie race. And so Romney is losing ground, and if the trend continues, it could become a wave election for the Democrats, and we could regain the House. That's a real possibility.
I'd be, you know me, I'm a skeptic. I would be very skeptical of that statement, because I think that right now there is there are two things working against the election. One is the anti-incumbency mood, which is still, I thought, relatively strong until I saw that Rangel and Hatch were both reconfirmed in their primaries. So that's kind of surprising. 78 and 80, 4 years old.
Well, Rangel by 5 is a really weak election for him.
Yeah,
so you're right, Dave. There is danger in the anti-incumbency movement.
So that's one thing. And the other thing is, you've still got you've got the potential here in Florida, for example, to unseat Bill Nelson with this guy Connie Mac Bono.
Yeah.
I mean, right now they're tied in the polling, and that could be a big gain for the Republicans. And I think when they smell blood in the water like you do here in Florida, they're going to pour tons and tons of money into the state. Florida, the Naples-Fort Myers market right now is the #1 market in Florida for campaign spending dollar-wise on TV right now. And we are getting deluged here. You cannot turn on your television without seeing one political ad after another. So this has already been established as the battleground, and I really think that it's going to be won or lost here in the state of Florida.
Well, that's one. Yeah. You're absolutely right. There's also the Scott Brown-Elizabeth Warren race in Massachusetts, which is the same kind of a tie. people are livid that Scott Brown has been conceding to the Wall Street desires to abolish the reforms.
Yeah, but they've been very successful at vilifying Elizabeth Warren on this Cherokee thing. They've beaten the hell out of her on it, though.
Yeah, it's still a tie race. It's died down.
Hey, can you stick around for a minute? Because there are two things I want to talk about. I have to take a little break here. I want to come back and talk about the contempt hearing a little bit, and I also want to talk to you about the president's executive order regarding immigration the other day. We haven't really had a chance to talk about that and what that is doing with the Hispanics in the country. Can you stick around for a minute?
You bet.
We'll be right back with Bob Weiner here on the Dave Elliott Show after this.
You've got the Dave Elliott Show on 98.9 WGUF, Naples FM Talk. 98.9 WGUF. He can do the moonwalk going forward. Dave Elliott on 98.9 WGUF.
4:49 on the Dave Elliott Show. Welcome back to Bob Weiner, the top Democratic strategist. You see him on Fox and Friends in the morning sometimes. Probably see him out jogging occasionally on the beach down here when you come down to South Florida to visit.
Much more fun than being on Fox and Friends.
And before we get to those other two topics, I want to direct your attention to Fortune magazine, which has written a report. I don't know if you've seen it. It's a 6-month investigation of the Fast and Furious scandal. And here is the conclusion they came to in a nutshell. They reveal that the ATF never intentionally allowed guns to fall into the hands of Mexican drug cartels, and they say that how the world came to believe just the opposite is a tale of rivalry, murder, and political bloodlust. Now, this is in Fortune magazine. It's a fascinating piece that goes into great detail about what really happened and how the ATF guys, I heard an interview with the woman who wrote the piece yesterday, and how the ATF guys were actually not there to do anything but watch straw buyers pick up these guns, record the serial numbers, and track where the guns were going, and they did exactly that. And even though they tried to stop the guns, they were prevented every step of the way by federal laws that did not allow them to do so.
Right.
It's a fascinating piece, and there's going to be a lot more on that. This is all part of it's an election year, man. You can really tell, can't you?
Let me give you my take on this, because I was on Fox and Friends on that, and what I stopped the program when I pointed out that Ashcroft, Gonzalez, and Mukasey actually started the gun transfer program to Mexico. They did it in the Bush administration, and the Democrats have been denied since then having any of those guys, Ashcroft, Gonzalez, or Mukasey, under the Bush administration, come in and testify. The Democrats wanted that. They've been denied. So this is pure politics, pure and simple. The other side of it, though, Dave, is we got to do something to stop the drugs coming in from Mexico.
Yes.
They are in the cartels are in 230 cities in the United States, and the cartels are armed by U.S. guns. There's no question about it. This is a two-way street, but we got to do something. I am not that concerned about the use of informants. This is sort of an extension of the use of informants. So it was a Justice Department strategy to try to get information on the cartels so we could stop the cartels from acting inside the United States.
And it turns out
it's that big a deal to me. But the Republicans want to make it. And I'm very sorry. Brian Terry was killed in the process. Law enforcement does lose lives in the course of stings happening. This is a terrible thing that happened. Fine, we can say that it happened because of that operation, but informants get killed all the time. So I haven't seen that big a press about informants getting killed.
Well, and it turns out that the whistleblower that was reporting to ISO was the only guy that Fortune magazine was able to document who physically took guns to Mexico.
Well, this story seems off base. Nobody is denying that Fast and Furious happened and it had a couple thousand guns, Dave. Well, nobody's denying that really happened.
I think
they're off base.
I really like this story. It's fascinating. It's a fascinating. You wouldn't believe this if it were a movie plot. You know what I mean? But
Justice has admitted the 2,000 guns that went to Mexico.
Yeah.
So I don't know where Fortune's. I'm going to take it as fact on that piece of it. And Holder has given thousands of documents, 80,000 pages of documents to the government with my old committee. I was the spokesman for it, for the Government Reform Committee, when Conyers was the chairman of it. So he has given them that. Holder, ISA should spend his time doing investigations of weapon systems that fail and fraud in the government and things like that, not politics, because the guy that you want to harass is the one who stops voter suppression. As we know, Holder is leading the charge now on challenging Florida's voter suppression so that everybody can really vote and not be stopped and have another stolen election in Florida. Nobody wants that again, although the Republicans apparently do.
I can tell you we don't want it in Florida, but it's now official that the House has voted contempt against holder. I guess there were 2 contempt votes, one civil and one criminal.
Correct. There's 2 more votes coming on it. They're in the middle of 4 votes on it.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
Anyway, so that's no surprise. We all knew that was going to happen. Now, a couple of weeks ago, the president kind of surprised everybody by saying that he was going to reduce enforcement or eliminate enforcement on deporting people who are the children of illegals with certain conditions applying. It affected about 800,000 people in the country.
The Republicans are livid that the president jumped the gun and did Rubio's bill before Rubio could do his bill.
But he really didn't do a bill.
It's very funny.
Bob, this is a temporary measure, right? This is a temporary measure.
And Romney refuses to say if he would honor it or kill it when he comes in. The answer is, of course, a new president would keep it until you do something else, if you're claiming you're going to do something else that's similar to it. But he refuses to say that because he is so afraid of losing the right-wing base, the conservative Republicans, who hate the fact that any Latin Americans are in the United States at all, legal or illegal. So he refuses to say what he will do, and we've got him completely boxed in.
You can certainly see, though, how Republicans look at this and they say this is a clear political trick. It's pandering.
It's not a trick. It's doing something with the power that he has. That's what it is.
So you don't see this as in any way having a political bent to it?
If politics is the art of getting credit for what you do that solves a mission, I'm all for it. So if Obama gets a political benefit for being furious, speaking of Fast and Furious, that he had a DREAM Act that was passed by the House and had 55 votes in the Senate, but was blocked because you needed 60, and the Republicans filibustered against passing it, even though he had a constitutional majority in both. And he did a little piece of it on his own by the power that he has. And when the Republicans want to say, you didn't do anything, and in fact he had that legislation and did try, so now he's doing something, of course the Republicans feel boxed in.
Well, I mean, and the timing is suspicious, too.
What's suspicious?
Well, I mean, why didn't he do it? Why didn't he do it right after the defeat of the DREAM Act, then?
Because he believed that Congress would come back and do something better because they said they would, but then he learned better. And he has learned that this Republican House will give nothing to him and will play politics on everything. And McConnell in the Senate has said that his only mission is to defeat Barack Obama. So why should you play footsie with those guys and instead take the power you have, use it, and then while Rome fiddles, somebody burns or something, let them figure out what they're going to do. But meanwhile, Obama got something done.
All right, now let's talk politics again for a minute here when we talk about the SCOTUS decision today. And
SCOTUS means Supreme Court of the United States.
Right. I think everybody knows that by now. It's not a part of the male anatomy.
And you know what POTUS is? POTUS is the President of the United States.
Or people of the United States.
And you know what? POTUS is the First Lady of the United States. And here's where it gets rough, because the New York Times says they couldn't do it because of the obvious. You know what SLUTUS is?
It's the Second Lady of the United States. Yeah. But it's
so
SLOTUS.
That term is
it's
never
not
used.
SLOTUS. It's SLOTUS and VPOTUS and all the rest. But I wanted to ask you, SCOTUS decision today on a...
Somebody's got a phone ringing.
Well, it's not me.
Not me either.
No, well, then you must be hearing things, Bob. I don't know what it is.
Okay.
Your ears are ringing, probably. Maybe it's SCOTUS calling. Does this help or hurt the president's reelection bid?
This absolutely helps because the president got something done. And the feeling is that because the Supreme Court has given its imprimatur now, public opinion will begin to turn in favor of it. It's a big plus for the president that this was ruled constitutional.
But there's a big but there. They have to get out and do the messaging, and if they don't do the messaging, then they will allow the other side to control the conversation.
Well, it just looks like the Republicans are playing sour grapes now that the Supreme Court has ruled in favor of the bill. Yeah. So I think that's a step of its own. I wouldn't bet the farm on the Democrats doing effective messaging on the health bill. They haven't done it yet, and so we're stuck with what we got. And I think everything else we talked about is where the messaging is going to come in.
Maybe they need to get you out there to do some robocalls. You could do it. Hey, Bob, always a pleasure. I love having you on because you're so full of energy and you're so passionate about what you believe, and for that I thank you for your time today.
Thanks, Dave, so much. And you guys will send me what listeners need to know. It's called an MP3, an actual copy.
You'll get a little gift in the email very soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob. Bob Weiner from Weiner and Associates, a top Democratic strategist, and it's always fun to have him on for the very reasons I just gave. We'll be back right after this.